Look, what I'm about to say completely flipped my life upside down at work. And even now, I still can't tell if I was overreacting, or if everyone else just refuses to see what was really going on. My name's Avery, I'm 29, and what happened to me started with something really simple, trying to protect my own boundaries. But somehow, I ended up being painted as the villain of the office. I work a pretty average job, mostly processing paperwork, handling customer inquiries, running reports. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, keeps gas in my car, and covers my rent. I've been at this company for about 3 years now. There was this guy, Landon who had already been with the company for a few years before I came on board. We didn't work in the same department, but we were on the same floor, so we crossed paths a lot. Landon was the kind of guy who just blended in as the friendly type. Always smiling, always chatting with everyone. He was the one who held doors open, remembered co-workers' birthdays, asked about your weekend, and not just in a surface-level way. He actually remembered what people told him. Naturally, I got to know him. We'd chat by the coffee machine, sometimes have lunch with a few others, and I'll admit, he made the workday more bearable. He listened, he laughed at my jokes, and he remembered little things about my life. There were moments when I wondered if maybe he liked me as more than just a friend. But I made sure to keep things professional. Because let's be real, office romances, they get messy fast. And I needed this job badly. But here's what people don't understand, and what I didn't want to admit to myself for a long time. There were signs. Subtle, easy-to-ignore signs, but they were there. Sometimes when we were talking, he'd stand just a little too close. He'd lean in, and I could feel his breath. Or he'd rest his hand on my shoulder a beat too long while making a joke. It wasn't overtly creepy. It was all so easily brushed off as friendly. I didn't want to be that girl who made a big deal out of nothing. Especially when everyone thought Landon was this golden boy. I kept telling myself I was imagining things. Overanalyzing. I convinced myself to just keep it light and friendly. But deep down I started adjusting my behavior. I dropped casual mentions of guys I was dating. I tried to eat lunch in groups. I made sure our interactions never felt one-on-one or personal. I wasn't trying to be mean. I was trying to set boundaries without setting off alarms. And still, he didn't get the hint. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. Either way, everything boiled over on one horrifying afternoon. And from there, everything changed. It was just a regular lunch break. Nothing special. I was in the break area eating a turkey sandwich I brought from home, sitting at the usual table with Landon and a few people from the other departments. We were laughing about something. I honestly don't even remember what, when I suddenly took too big of a bite. And just like that, I couldn't breathe. The piece of food lodged in my throat, and I panicked. I tried to cough, but nothing moved. My vision started to tunnel. I remember clutching at my throat and making these desperate, guttural choking sounds. Everyone around the table froze. Just stared. Then I felt Landon jump up behind me. He shouted something about knowing the Heimlich maneuver and wrapped his arms around me from behind. And in that terrifying, disorienting moment, I remember this sharp, conflicting sensation. Because while I was literally choking and panicking, unable to breathe or think straight, I could also feel him. His chest pressed up against my back. His arms locked tight around my torso. And, God, I hate that this even crossed my mind at that moment, but I could feel everything. Every inch of his body flush against mine. Including things I really wish I hadn't felt. The maneuver worked. The food shot out. Could breathe again. Everyone in the room clapped, laughed, called him a hero. But I couldn't laugh. I couldn't even speak. I just nodded mutely when he asked if I was okay and then bolted to the bathroom, trying to keep it together. I stared at myself in the mirror, trembling. My body felt numb. My brain kept replaying everything that just happened, but not the choking. Not the fear of dying. What I couldn't stop thinking about was the way his hands had gripped me. The way his body felt so firmly pressed against mine. I knew he was trying to help. I knew it wasn't supposed to feel that way. But it did. And what really scared me, what made me feel sick to my stomach, was that a part of me had been afraid something like this would happen eventually. Not that I'd choke, but that he'd find some reason to get close to me in a way I couldn't question. A way no one could criticize. He saved my life. That's what everyone saw. But I felt violated. Not because of the Heimlich itself, but because of the context, the build-up, the history, the subtle boundary pushing. The way he lingered. The way he kept checking on me afterward, asking if I wanted to talk about it in this low, soft voice. Like he thought we'd had some deeply bonding moment. Like I owed him something now. I called my sister that night. I told her everything, how it felt, what I was thinking. And she didn't hesitate. "Avery," she said, "just because he saved you doesn't mean he had the right to make you feel that way. If you felt violated, then that matters." That word, violated, rang in my ears all night. I didn't sleep. The next day, I tried to act normal, but Landon wouldn't let it go. He kept hovering around, asking if I was okay, leaning in close again. At one point by the coffee machine, he got me alone and started talking about how he didn't think he'd ever forget that moment, and that he was so glad he could be there for me. I felt trapped, cornered. It didn't feel sweet. It felt like he thought we had shared something intimate, like we were now connected in a way I hadn't agreed to. That's when I knew. If I didn't say something now, I never would. And he might push things further. So I went to HR. I was terrified walking into that office. How do you report the guy who saved your life without sounding ungrateful or insane? But I told the woman everything. How I felt his body pressed against mine. How it made me feel deeply uncomfortable. I explained our history, the subtle signs, the boundary issues. And once I laid it all out, she nodded slowly and said it sounded like more than a one-off moment. She said they'd open an investigation. That they'd talk to witnesses. That Landon would have a chance to respond. I begged for confidentiality, but office gossip spreads like wildfire. Within 2 days, everyone knew something was going on. People stared, whispered. I could feel judgment in every hallway. And the worst part, Landon looked genuinely hurt, confused, like I'd blindsided him. I almost felt guilty. Almost. But I kept reminding myself. Asterisk asterisk, my comfort matters too, asterisk asterisk. My instincts had been whispering warnings for months. And maybe he didn't mean harm. But that doesn't erase how I felt. My sister said something that really stuck with me. Men like that thrive on being seen as the nice guy, because they know women will doubt themselves before they ever speak up. And she was right.